So today I am so excited to have you here, Maria.
Thank you, Jenny.
Welcome to my podcast.
Oh my God, it's so great to be here. Everybody loves this Wedding Tip Wednesday. So when you asked me on, I thought, yes, of course.
Well,
it's great.
First of all, I had you sing at my wedding.
You did?
I wouldn't have had anybody else.
Aww.
And I suppose just from my point of view, when I arrive to weddings and I see that it's you, I'm like, oh God. Because I know the music is just going to be absolutely amazing.
Jenny. Oh, do you know what? It's a passion, isn't it? I mean, it's just like you with photography. It's just every day is a fantastic day and we get to be part of this fantastic experience for two people. And like the music, the photography is so important, but the music is so important as well. And sometimes people don't actually realise that. I mean, most couples do. So when they get engaged and they book their church and they book their venue, they start looking at kind of other suppliers at that point. And luckily, most couples will kind of go for their music at that stage.
Yes.
And some people kind of leave it till the last minute.
Like, I don't get that.
No. It's weird because the thing about the music for a wedding day is that it is your first introduction to the day.
Yeah.
So when the bride or groom are walking up the aisle, it's, it is the first thing that people hear.
Yeah.
And when they arrive to the venue or to the church, there's music playing in the background and it's creating this atmosphere.
Of course.
So it is. It's really important.
And like the song that you're going to walk up the aisle to.
I know.
Like, that's so exciting picking that.
I
So
know.
nerve-wracking. It's emotional.
It's great.
Like, it's amazing. So do you help the couples decide what
Yeah.
that's going to be?
Absolutely. So a lot of couples will have a definite idea of what they want. Some people have a definite idea of the style of music they like. So with us, we perform both sort of classical and contemporary music. So they would have a choice of either having, a contemporary song, something like, say, Songbird, or, those kind of really lovely romantic ballads.
Yes.
They could go with something classical, maybe like Nella Fantasia, which I know
I
you
won't
love.
after that. Every time I hear you singing that, I'm like, I start crying. I'm like, it's not even my
When
wedding.
we're at weddings, when I'm singing that, I always have a little look to you and you're like, oh my God, that's me.
And I'm recording you doing it as well.
Oh, yeah. So people walk up to that, or they can do instrumental music like, Pachelbel's Canon. So Canon in D by Pachelbel.
Yeah.
Or a contemporary instrumental. So it really just depends. I always say to the bride when they're at that point of choosing their music, I always say to the bride or groom, if they can just put themselves in the situation in their minds of the venue or of the church, because they've been there, so they can picture it.
Of course.
So I always say when you're going to bed at night, close your eyes, or even if you're having a cup of tea, a glass of wine, close your eyes, put yourself in that moment. And then
God, I have goosebumps.
Yeah, it's great. But if they put themselves in that moment, then I always ask them, what do you hear playing?
Wow.
And then they kind of say, oh yeah. So if they're kind of in between two songs, oh Maria, what do you think? Should I do this one? Should I do the other one?
Yeah.
I always say to them, look, put yourself in the situation and then you'll hear which one. And then in your mind, play both. And you'll always say, oh yeah, no, I definitely prefer that one.
And
So
tell me then, Maria, so there's lots of music, obviously, that they have to pick, say a church ceremony.
Yeah.
And they haven't a clue. A lot of them don't go to mass, but they want to get married in the church.
It's true. It's true.
So do you guide them through kind of, where the songs should be?
Yeah. So basically what we do is when the couples book at that point, then we will send them across. We have a wedding music guide. So it's a little ebook, which explains everything. So it has our full extensive repertoire list. And that's it's a big list of songs that we do.
Yeah.
And it also gives you the order of service, say for the Catholic Mass or for the civil ceremony. And it will tell you exactly where you put the songs and how many you need.
Brilliant.
And that's really just their homework. So,
geez, they get this big list on where do I start?
They usually start on YouTube. That's the truth. I say to most people, look, don't look them all up. You'll be here till next Christmas.
Yeah.
So just cast your eye over them, see what jumps out at you, make a list of your wish list and come back to me then.
Okay.
So about 6 to 8 weeks before the wedding, I usually have a chat with the bride and groom.
Right.
And I, either do that on telephone or on Zoom. and we go through everything.
Right.
And I usually have a set of questions I ask them.
Okay.
So that's,
are you interviewing them now, Maria?
Yeah, it's great. So no, it's just a set of questions for me to gauge what style of music they like.
Right.
So if I know the style they like, then I can definitely advise them on other songs they might not have thought of.
Okay.
Because everybody kind of wants to be different.
I know.
But the only thing is that everybody wants to be different, but they all kind of end up being samey.
Yes, of course.
Because they've heard things at other weddings. And I always say to people, look, do yourself. Don't do what Mary did last week.
Exactly.
Or, you know, somebody did a couple of months ago. Just look at what you like.
Yeah.
Because the thing about wedding music is it is really like it is telling the story of the bride and groom.
It makes the ceremony.
Yeah. It's like the soundtrack to your day.
Come here. And I have come across so many awful singers.
Oh.
You know, now, and they may just be a relation of the couple.
Yeah.
And they think, wouldn't it be lovely now to have cousin Elizabeth sing at the wedding? And I'm thinking, right, okay, fine. Now, thankfully, it doesn't happen that often, but you know yourself.
Yeah.
Does anybody ever say to you, Maria, just during the ceremony, my cousin wants to sing or my auntie wants, and you go, oh, Jesus.
I was kind of hoping you'd ask me that today because I wanted to just explain something. So, yes, it's lovely to have family
Now, just
involved.
say it as it is, right?
Oh,
just
totally.
Don't be holding back here.
No. So it is lovely to have family involved, for definite. It is lovely. I mean, but maybe not doing that. Yeah. So that's me being as, politically correct as I possibly can be. Okay. So basically what happens is if somebody asks me that, I will always ask, well, what's their background in music? So have they been trained to sing or play whatever instrument? And I always say, okay, that's fine. Well, what you need to do is you need to get them to call me.
Okay.
And if it's a singer, for instance, because there could be a trained singer that wants to sing, and that's fine. But they would need to come to me and then I'll have a chat with them. Mm-hmm. They'll probably want my musicians to accompany them. So the thing about it is I always ask them for exactly the arrangement of the song that they're doing. Right. So say, for instance, they want to do something like To Make You Feel My Love. Okay. So whose arrangement is it? Is it Bob Dylan's or is it Adele's?
God, there's so much involved.
And then I find that sheet music and then I ask them exactly what key they sing it in. So when they're practicing, some people might not know, so I ask them to send me a recording that they sing along to, and then I'll work out the key.
Right.
And then that means that the sheet music is there on the day for the musicians and nothing can go wrong.
I know, don't ask your relation. Just leave it.
Yeah.
Get them to do a reading.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But I've had people, now this is a long time ago.
Okay.
But I've had, a cousin, I think, actually, of the bride and groom who wanted to play the violin. Now, bearing in mind that the musicians that work with me and come to the weddings with me are from the RT Concert Orchestra and National Symphony Orchestra. They're brilliant.
And they wanted somebody to play
So they wanted, and we had violin on the day, one of the best violinists in the country. And this poor girl came along with her violin and she said to me beforehand, of course the bride had said, oh, she's brilliant, she's amazing, she's been at it for years. And I said, oh, great. And then when she arrived, she said to me, I haven't picked up the violin in I don't know how long.
Oh my God.
I said, about how long? And she said, I don't know. So she was playing something like, I think it was something simple, actually like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star or Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Right.
But the girl, and it's really unfair to ask people to perform, I think, because she was so nervous. She just, and can you imagine playing a violin? Her hands were shaking. So that's going to be in the sound, obviously.
Oh God, yeah.
So my heart broke that day because I thought
it wasn't good.
She was asked to do a job and she said, well, I better not say no. She really didn't want to do it.
They threw her in with your guys. Good luck. Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like, so that's kind of, it's not nice to be in that situation. So I would always say to brides and grooms, look, if you're asking somebody, make sure they want to do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask them for the sake of it because they might want to just enjoy their day.
Exactly.
And
tell me, because I was talking about priests.
Yeah.
I have, as a photographer, come across lovely priests, but I've also had a few idiots. God forgive me. I'm not talking about holy God here now. I'm talking about the individual.
Yeah, I was saying that to you before. Like it's really important to separate the actual priest to the human being.
Yes.
And do you know, I've heard people saying, "Oh my God, he's an awful priest."
Yeah.
But it's just the person is maybe not,
very nice, controlling. Yeah. So just don't be holding back, Maria. That's just the way it is.
It is.
So, as a photographer, I would find that really difficult.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to capture the couple's day, and I'm really trying to focus on all of those different elements that happen throughout the ceremony. And I'm also paranoid your man's going to speak to me from the microphone and then I'd have a heart attack.
Has that happened?
Yes, it has a couple of times, Maria.
No.
Actually, I'll give you an example. Yeah.
Oh, no.
He said, this particular priest a good few years ago said to me, now when I'm doing my homily, you sit.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, fair enough. And I didn't know what the homily was. Now, I obviously do know what the homily is now, but, the homily, so I'm thinking, so he's going to say, I'm doing the homily now or whatever. So I'm standing because me, I stand.
You do.
Because I can't miss something. If I see something happening, I'm going to photograph it. And next of all, so I'm kind of looking around the church and I'm looking for reactions. And then everybody slowly but surely started to look at me. And I'm thinking, why are they all looking at me? And then I looked at the altar and he's looking at me. And he said, I said, sit. Well, I was like, oh, God.
Oh no.
He said, tell me to sit. I'm absolutely mortified.
Oh no.
I sat down and I was really annoyed, but I got a lump in my throat because I thought I was going to start crying. So I was so embarrassed. There's about 180 people in the church.
That is
mortified.
Embarrassing.
And then he was just rude a couple of other times during the ceremony and I left that. But I was there about 3 or 4 years ago. I went to Kerry to do a wedding. Now I don't go to Kerry very often because it is quite far away, but I have done weddings in Kerry.
Yeah.
And there was a priest there from Dublin and I thought, oh, this is amazing, and he had a Dublin accent and I thought we're going to really gel. So you know me, I would go in and just say, hello, Father, how are you doing? My name's Jenny. And I ask a few questions like, how are you going to do, the unity candles? Are you going to get them to go around and face the congregation?
Yeah.
Or are they just going to go up and light them just so I know where to be? So I got as far as, hi, Father, I'm Jenny. I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions.
Oh, no.
I can't even remember what he said to me. Like he was just so
cutting.
rude, told me to get off the carpet, stand down there. Don't you dare ask me how I'm going to. And he just went for me. And I just said, okay. So I kind of, took a little bit of a step back from him. And I was just it does affect your job on the day.
Oh, it knocks you for six.
Yeah. And then what happened just very quickly later on, then I just got on really well with the mother. She was lovely, lovely, lovely. She'd lost her husband, pardon me. And I just was just mindful of that all day long.
Yeah.
And she mentioned me in the speeches and she was just so nice about that later. And he was sitting right next to her and I thought, Jeannie, isn't karma a bitch?
Oh, I know. But Jenny, I was doing a mass not so long ago and it was again, with COVID times, which I hate mentioning,
yes.
But all of the masses are broadcast.
Yeah.
So I always bring my own equipment. Wherever I go, we don't leave anything to chance. So we always bring our own sound system, own piano, like all the instruments, everything comes with us.
Yes.
But because the church broadcast, we also then use the church's mic as well. So people often ask me, why do you have 2 microphones? Well, that's the reason, right? But I was doing a mass in Dublin not so long ago, and the microphone that they gave me for the church was actually a little bit crackly.
Right.
So I thought, okay, this isn't working. And I had been in this church about a week before, and there was just a standing mic on the altar, which wasn't used. So I used that the week before.
Right.
So I just brought that over to where I was, and that was fine. And the priest came over in the middle of something going on in the mass, and I was singing. I was actually singing. And he said, that mic's belonged to the altar, as I was singing. And I just kept singing. And then he went to turn away, but I think he got a bee in his bonnet.
Oh.
So he turned back and he went to take the mic away from me, but the leads were all entangled with my leads.
Stop the lights, let me gone.
So then he got down on his hands and knees and he started to wrench the microphone away from me. To the point, actually, that the microphone fell over, hit me in the face.
Oh, Maria.
While I was singing, hit me in the face. And my iPad, because we use iPads now, we don't use sheet music anymore.
Good Lord.
But it's great. That's what you were saying earlier on about mess and stuff. It just eliminates all of that.
Yeah.
But anyway, my iPad fell off my music stand. My music stand fell over. The microphone hit me in the face. And it was just so unnecessary.
That's very embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. But you know what? Like, I would say probably, in my experience, I'd say probably 90 to 95% of weddings are the most gorgeous priests on the planet.
Yeah.
And I found the key to like dealing with priests, because couples often come to me and say, oh, look, do I have to have all religious music? Do I have to do this? Because the priest said I have to have all religious music. And I always say to them, look, there are parts in the Mass, if you're getting married in a church,
yes,
there are parts in the Mass that you must have religious music or instrumental music.
Of course, yeah.
But there are parts that you don't.
Mm-hmm.
But the priest will always ask for your list of songs beforehand. So I always say to the bride and groom, look, what you do is go to the priest and say, Father, here's our list of songs. We've picked them because they all mean something very special to us.
Yes, of course.
So you know, we hope we can keep them because they're really meaningful.
Yes.
And generally the priest will say, okay. The odd one might say no.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, you're pre-warned.
Yeah.
At least if you give them the list beforehand, you don't have to be on the day. You know, I do remember years ago the priest saying you can't sing that on the day of a wedding. So we ended up having to play it as an instrumental piece and not a song.
Isn't that shocking?
It's shocking.
Yeah.
So, and it was a shame because it would have been nice for the bride to know beforehand.
I've had somebody say to me that they had picked all their music.
Yeah.
And they hadn't actually given the priest their list of music in advance until the day.
Oh no.
And he took 3 songs out. And she was really upset because she said they had spent quite a bit of time picking the songs. So I think people don't actually realise that there are songs that you're not allowed sing in the church. Most priests won't let you.
Well, that's kind of like for things like, say, for instance, the offertory procession.
Yeah.
For communion time. Mm-hmm. Generally, those have to kind of, they need to be quite sacred.
Yes.
Definitely the first song of communion.
Yeah.
So the way the ceremony runs, you've got your entrance piece, which some couples choose to have, you know, a separate piece for the bridesmaids or a separate piece for the bride.
That was one of my questions. This is lovely, actually.
Okay. Yeah. No, do you know what? It is lovely, Jenny, but the only thing is that there's a certain sense of stopping and starting.
Okay.
So sometimes if you go with one piece, then it's kind of seamless. And what you can do if you want it to be slightly different is you can have, you know, the song, say if you pick a song, the song that you pick, have it as an instrumental for the bridesmaids and then just have the voice coming in.
That's such a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Because I was just going to say to you, if you have 6 bridesmaids walking up the aisle,
I know.
Like 6 bridesmaids, you know, is a lot. But some people do have 6 bridesmaids and the kids.
Yeah.
And by the time the bride gets to the top, the bloody song is over. So
but
how do you get over that?
There's always a way of looping back. So we're always in the church or in the venue an hour to an hour and 15 minutes beforehand. We set up, we sound check, and then we do a top and tail rehearsal. So that's us.
You're amazing.
So thanks.
Amazing.
I try. Yeah. But we have a chat through each of the pieces and specifically for the entrance. So if it's a song, you know, we'll always say, okay, if we get to the end and the bride still isn't here, we'll loop back to this section.
Right.
So it just seamlessly happens. You don't hear anything. It just sounds like a continuation of the song.
Yeah.
So that's all organised beforehand.
Sure.
And like, I mean, you have to do that because with us, you could have, say, just me accompanied by piano, or you could have me accompanied by a whole ensemble of instruments.
So tell me about your team then.
So
how many
great.
of you are? I mean, I just see you guys and I'm like, hello. And I don't even have time to really talk properly to you because I'm doing my job too. You're doing yours.
We're racing to get everything done.
You know, like at my wedding, I always say that, you know, when you're getting married, my wedding, sure, Martin got married too, but it was my wedding. Every time I spoke about
I
it,
say that too.
Wedding.
Actually, I do. I say that too.
So we had you and we had your
a tenor, a
tenor as
you
well.
You had piano and violin too, didn't you?
Piano and violin. And the
that's
other day,
a lovely company.
That was lovely.
Yeah,
especially for Nella Fantasy. No, I'm not going to start singing now, so I can't sing and you'll throw me out. But it is lovely to have a tenor for that. That's stunning.
And the prayer as well.
And the prayer.
You have to really have a tenor for the prayer.
That was just...
And a really good one. You have to have a good one.
But just our ceremony, like for me, it was just all about the music.
I loved it.
All about the music.
Oh no, I remember. I'll come back to that in a second about the different options. But I just remember when you walked in, because I didn't know what your dress was going to be. And oh my God, you just like, your waist was tiny. It's like,
excuse me, what do you mean was tiny?
no, is tiny, but you were just like a vision.
Was tiny.
You were a vision. Oh no, it was great.
Maria.
It was great.
Oh, that was amazing.
But yeah,
so
you had a great
amazing.
combination. So piano, violin and 2 singers, which was fabulous. But you can, when we met the other day, actually, interestingly, we met at a wedding on Saturday.
Yeah.
We didn't know we were both going to be there.
Isn't that funny?
But that was string quartet.
Yeah, string quartet
and myself. But you can go with, when people are trying to decide how to choose their instruments, that's a big thing. So I know you had asked me before about, do a couple need to know exactly what they want before they call me?
Yes.
Not really. So what usually happens, I'm very hands-on. So in what we do, I'm there from the very beginning. So I will always have a chat with the bride and groom, whoever is organising the wedding music or both, or whoever, whoever's looking after it. So I'll always have a chat with them. I'll ask them again a couple of questions to gauge the style of music they like.
Yes.
So with us, I suppose you're lucky in the sense that I'm trained to sing in both a classical style voice and also modern contemporary, and they're very different. So my background study is that I trained in musical theatre.
Yes.
In London. So I have both sides of the whole kind of training. So
you're a legend.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. I'm saying thanks, but really I'm going, no, I'm not. But yeah, so like if you've ever heard at weddings, if you have a very classical soprano trying to sing contemporary music, pop music, it doesn't quite sound right.
Not at all.
Or if you have a very contemporary singer that maybe doesn't have classical training and they try to sing like the Ave Maria or whatever, that doesn't sound right. But with us, we do both, and same with the musicians. So usually I would ask the bride and groom, do you want to have a classical themed wedding? Do you want to have a modern contemporary themed wedding musically? Yes. Or do you want to mix both?
Yeah.
And most people mix both.
Of course.
So then you've got the option. So if they do want to go with all classical, then they would tend to kind of go with the string quartet or maybe piano, violin, cello. Because some people love the piano, but they also want strings. So if you have the violin and cello, then you've got the upper and lower register of strings. So it creates this really rich, round sound and a beautiful colour. And some people ask me also, I only have a small church. So I probably shouldn't have so many instruments. So having lots of instruments actually doesn't mean that it's louder. Adding instruments, what that does is it adds colour to the music.
Of course.
So, if for instance, you want to keep it simple and go with piano and voice, that's stunning because you can really hear the voice. So you have to have a really good singer for that.
Like you.
Thanks, Jenny. I'm still going, oh, God. Oh, thank you. But so you've got to have that sort of, it's a nice ethereal sound, even the contemporary stuff is really rich when it's just piano. Then you can think about adding extra instruments after that. So you can add violin, you can add cello, you can add guitar, flute. So all of these things that you can have, and they're all the best musicians in the country. So like you're not going to eat whatever option you go with.
Sure.
It's going to be great.
And tell me, Maria, then, I know we talked about priests and difficult ones, and thankfully they're few and far between. Any kind of like little behind the scenes stuff that you can tell me about? Like, does something ever go wrong?
Yeah. Do you know it does? But the thing about it is, right, I always say obviously people are worried about that. They're always worried, but they want it to be perfect. But we're living a human experience.
Of course.
So perfection really isn't obtainable, and nor should you have to be perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
But of course you want your wedding day to be as flawless as possible.
Yes.
But things do go wrong.
Tell us about the drink that you were telling me about behind the scenes.
So I was doing a wedding actually at a hotel venue. And the thing about hotel venues is that people generally get really relaxed, don't they?
Oh God, yeah.
So, if
because the bar is open.
Yes. So if the wedding is due to start at say 2:00, you can still kind of see people dribbling in kind of, 5 to 2.
Of course.
But sometimes carrying pints and gin and tonics.
They're not supposed to.
They're not supposed to.
Not allowed.
No. But I do remember doing one wedding and it was up the country in a beautiful hotel, and they had these, the pedestals going up the aisle with the beautiful cherry trees.
Yes.
Like it looked stunning. But the bride was at the door And
ready to walk in.
In actual fact, that day we had 2 brides. It was a same-sex wedding, and it was 2 brides, and they were both having their own entrances in.
Sure.
And I was waiting at my mic, and my musicians, I always, the photographer always cues me, and I cue them. Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were waiting anyway, and suddenly I looked over, and on one of the pedestals, right on the walk up the aisle, there was a giant pint and what looked like a gin and tonic. And I thought, I was about to sing, I hadn't cued the musicians yet, but, they were ready to start. And I thought, well, fuck this.
I'm taking them out there.
I walked away from the musicians. I walked down the aisle, and everybody was waiting, and I thought, well, no, I'm not doing this. So I walked down the aisle, and I took the 2 glasses off the pedestal, and I put them underneath the seat there, and I tottered on back up to my microphone, because I thought those 2 drinks would have been in that bride and groom's photographs, would have been in their wedding video.
Absolutely.
The bride could have bumped off it, and it could have spilled on her dress.
Good luck.
So that's
well done, Maria. The musicians are probably going, she's walking out of the house.
What is she doing? But you know what? Sometimes you kind of, I know I'm there in my capacity as a singer, but more often than not, you're doing damage control as you're going, spotting things. You know yourself.
Oh, listen.
You have your bag of tricks. I actually have a bag of tricks in my bag as well.
You do?
I do, because things like, recently a bride's veil fell off at the beginning of the Mass, and it was the most stunning veil.
Stop.
It made her outfit.
Do you know why that fell off?
Because the clips weren't
I wouldn't
properly.
even say they put clips in.
No.
It happens all the time.
And I always say that if you're putting the veil in, now you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but this is my own take on it. But I think if you have, the normal sort of bobby pins, the normal straight clips, if you can actually put them in an X shape.
Oh, do you know what? I'm going to bring you to all my weddings with me.
If you put them in an X shape, then the thing about it is, and face them down the way. Yeah. So obviously don't face them up the way, face them down the way. Yeah. Then just the veil just clips in.
Absolutely.
So that's what I did on that day, was I just ran over to the bride.
And how did her veil fall out?
I don't actually know. Yeah. But I know the bridesmaid went up and
she couldn't get it in.
No, it was funny. She was kind of she did a basic grab, and she did this thing. And I was like, well, that's not going to stay. But it fell out, I think, twice. And I thought I could see the bride was getting a little bit anxious. So I just went over and I said, listen, I'll put that in for a second. Don't even worry if anybody's looking at you. Doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm going to fix the veil.
Exactly.
It'll take me 1 second.
You're amazing.
And so it just, so we are always doing stuff like that, aren't we?
Completely.
But then everybody rallies round.
They do. Well, I had a bride recently where she was getting into her dress on the morning, and I would say she'd had a Suzanne Jackson. I'll never forget her dress. I did her wedding. Oh,
wow, yeah.
And she had this beautiful, stunning skirt on her dress.
Oh, wow.
And it was one of those that you sort of tied around the waist, and then you take it off later.
They take it in the evening. I love that. It's really Audrey Hepburn,
but it was
isn't it?
just so long.
Okay.
The train on her dress, and they got a helicopter to the venue.
Right.
And it wouldn't fit into the helicopter.
Oh, no way. It wouldn't fit in.
It wouldn't fit in the dress. It wouldn't. But anyway, so I had a bride recently who had, now not as long, but she had that kind of style train on her dress that kind of hooked around the top at the front. And I'm looking at it thinking, that's not going to hold. And there was a lot of embellishments on the train. God. And it was heavy because of that. So Amy, who's my assistant, she was with me, and I said, that's not going to stay there.
Oh my God.
So we're into that. So I said, oh, that's, the little hook on it was kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
And she said, no, honestly, it'll be fine. The dressmaker said, and I'm just
here
thinking,
to me. You're like,
I said, are you sure now, So sure enough, she arrives to the church. It was a church ceremony, and they pull up outside, and she said, Jenny. And I said, it broke, didn't it? And she said, it's gone, it's broke.
No.
So only that I had a needle and thread. Now, it's a bag of tricks, but it's a bum bag now that it's like a kangaroo pouch I have.
But it's brilliant.
I have. So I had to sew her into her dress at the church door.
But you know what? That is, you saved the day there. And I know it's, for you, it's a small thing.
Yeah.
To carry a needle and thread.
Yeah.
But that saved the day.
Absolutely.
And it just, these little things all make a difference.
Completely.
And you can have kind of, I always say that on a wedding day, if you can surround yourself with professionals in their field of all the different things,
yes,
then you don't need to worry.
Absolutely.
So there you are, sewing the bride into her dress. she didn't need to worry.
She didn't need to worry.
No.
And she walked up the aisle and she was
Happy
absolutely
as Larry.
perfect.
Yeah.
Tell me, Maria,
Yeah.
what do you do to sort of, do you have to look after yourself to keep that beautiful voice? Because it's
I
as
do.
beautiful as it was at our wedding 11 years ago.
Thanks.
How do you do it?
Well, like I'm probably a little bit extreme in the way I look after myself. No, genuinely I am.
Okay.
Most, like singers differ. Some singers can actually go out, have pints, drink cigarettes, and they'll still sound fabulous.
Yeah.
And some singers will mind themselves. Like I really do mind myself. So like I have a very, very clean diet.
Okay.
So,
tell me.
Oh, well, I mean, when I say clean, I mean really normal food.
Okay.
Like, very...
What's normal food?
As in,
Potatoes.
No, don't eat potatoes at all. I actually don't eat potatoes. No,
Well, they're
don't eat
quite
potatoes.
fattening, aren't they?
So vegetables like chicken, fish, that kind of stuff. That's like I don't do a lot of sauces and I don't do a lot of sugar.
Okay.
I don't drink alcohol
At all? No. You don't know what you're missing.
I know. Well, I used to, but then I just, for health benefits, I just don't drink alcohol.
Okay.
And I drink, a ton of water.
Right.
So
what's a ton?
A ton of water would be, before I leave, the thing, my process would be that in the morning when I wake up, I genuinely bounce out of bed because I know I'm going to a wedding. I love it so much still all these years later.
Yeah, that's so lovely.
But I'm always 3 hours before I have to leave the house. I get up 3 hours before I have to leave the house.
Right.
I drink at least 2 litres of water.
Before you leave?
Yeah. And then I have...
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
How are you not peeing
I was
in
going
the
to say,
church?
I have
Where's the toilet?
several wheeze before I leave the
She's
house.
a nappy on her.
No, but genuinely, the water, people think that if you pick up a glass of water and drink it, it hydrates the vocal cords. It doesn't.
It doesn't. Okay.
So basically, your whole body needs to absorb all the water for it eventually to get to the vocal cords. So that's why 2 litres of water before I leave the house means that by the time I get there, I'll be well hydrated.
Right.
It'll have gone through all the rest of my body and reached my vocal cords. Yeah, of course, you're going to have a little sip of water if, your throat gets dry a little bit, or you just need to kind of, have a little drink of water. So that's fine. But I mean, you kind of need to drink it a lot in advance.
So if you have 2 litres before you leave the house,
Yeah.
what do you drink for the rest of the day then?
I drink more.
Another 2?
I might drink another 1 anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I would try and do about 3 litres a day.
Right.
And then I love my yoga. I love my sea swimming.
I see that on your Instagram.
Yeah.
You can stand on your head, Maria.
I know, I love it. But it just keeps me strong because we're carrying equipment.
Yeah.
Like I carry my sound system, and I mean, yes, of course, people, can offer to give you help, but you need to be able to do these things by yourself.
Yes.
So I do yoga to keep me strong, and I watch my diet, and I do cold water swimming in the sea, and that keeps my immune system good.
Tell me then. So, I can't swim. I'd love to learn how to swim. I keep saying it.
When I say swim, I mean like it's a teabag dip.
I'm afraid of the water. So I need to get over that to be able to swim.
Yeah.
So you go and you swim in the freezing cold water in the winter?
Yeah.
Go away.
No, I do. It's great. It is the most exhilarating thing that you can do. I mean,
really,
we have kind of gotten out of the habit a little bit recently, and we need to get back. But I mean, there have been mornings when I wake up and my husband wakes up, and we both say, like, the first question is, it's not good morning, darling, how are you? It's, when has I died? When has I died? I would leg it down to the 40 foot. Yeah,
and he goes with you.
He goes too. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's all through the years. So it's it definitely keeps your immune system strong because you've got that kind of that rush of I suppose adrenaline that goes through your body, but it really heightens your immune system. So so they're the things that I do to kind of keep myself as well as I can.
Yes.
Yeah.
And have you ever thought to yourself, I'm going to do this until, and then I will give it up, or not?
The singing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I came out of the womb singing. I'm going to go into the box singing. I swear I will. No, I don't think I'll ever give it up.
Yeah.
Never, ever.
What do you love the most? You do obviously a lot of weddings. What else do you do?
Yeah, but obviously I love the weddings. That's that's where my heart is. Mostly I love the connection with the bride and groom.
Yes.
I love that personal touch. I love getting to know them. I love the hugs after the ceremony. I love it.
I was just going to ask you that as well. So do you get to see them after the ceremony? Or
Mostly,
are they gone?
Mostly.
Yeah.
like, for instance, on Saturday, you like to get them to the venue as quickly as possible because, you need the time for photographs. When it's cold.
When it's cold and the light is going by
Nobody
the
really,
second.
But you know what? Sometimes if I don't get to see them, you do get to sort of meet them through little winks and kind of waves and stuff, which is nice. It's nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
But aside from weddings, like I do a lot of concert work and I do recording, and so generally, well, music is my life. That's what I do, and it's what I absolutely love.
Didn't you record a song? Tell me all about that.
Oh no, I recorded an album.
Or sorry, I didn't mean to say a song. I meant to say an album.
I did. I recorded an album a few years ago, and that's completely different to what I do with weddings.
Yes.
So with weddings, it's kind of more that classical and contemporary sound, whereas this was vintage cool jazz.
Yeah.
So this is kind of part of, obviously that the album is a full band, a proper full band, with all the trimmings on it. But for instance, the drinks receptions at weddings, we scale that down to myself accompanied by piano and double bass.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the kind of vintage cool jazz. So like Billie Holiday, Nora Jones,
Amazing.
Ella Fitzgerald. And it's nice because, at drinks receptions, it's background music is what you need.
Yeah.
You don't need anything kind of loud and in your face because people want to chat.
Because they want to chat. And speaking of people chatting, which is bringing me back to the ceremony.
Yeah.
So I have noticed in the past with different singers, and sometimes you, very seldom it's you, but people chat in the church when somebody is up singing. That annoys the life out of me because I'm thinking you need to stop talking and listen.
But you know what? It's just, that's life.
Does that annoy you?
Not really. I mean, sometimes if I don't mind a little bit of chatting, because I'm used to it.
Right.
I'm there to do the best that I can do, and you can't really account for what somebody else is going to do.
Yeah.
So you've just got to do what you do.
It's never the bride and groom.
Never the bride and groom.
No.
But there are times when the congregation can get really, really rowdy.
When the communion is on.
I know.
Do you ever see the priest come back up and tell them to shut up?
Yeah, funnily enough, for my own wedding, I said to the priest, my priest was fantastic. His name is Jim. He was fantastic. And I remember on the rehearsal the night before, I came in with what he thought looked like a clipboard. And I said, so Jim, this is what we're doing. And he was brilliant. But I said to him, look, would you mind saying to the congregation or in the civil ceremony or your guests?
Yeah.
So I said to him, would you mind saying at communion time, look, if I could ask you to be respectful to this part of the Mass and to really enjoy listening to the beautiful music, put it in a really nice way, then they'll be quiet.
Yeah.
But if nothing is said to them, and if they're, in fairness, it is just excitement.
I know, of course it is.
It's just excitement. But I mean, there have been times where I would just, if it's so loud, I can't compete with that because I'm not going to start belting because that's not the style the bride and groom want.
Exactly.
So I tend to just kind of sit on the mic and still sing the song, but I won't actually force it into a belt which doesn't sound right.
So it doesn't annoy you, but you prefer them not to talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course you would, yeah. But then they're being human.
I suppose the couple have just put so much work into what music that they're going to pick,
That's it. But they do, like, as I said so many times before, like all the music reflects their personality. You know why they chose each of the songs. So it would be nice if people listened to it.
Absolutely.
And
Maria, just kind of a few final questions, you know, when they're picking, the songs for their ceremony, there's always a song in the church, or it's a psalm. So it's a song between the first and the second reading. Like the amount of times the second reader goes up to speak and then the song comes on and the poor Egypt standing up at the microphone ready to speak and they have to stand there then. Do you tell the bride and groom to tell them that?
Yeah, but you know what? People forget. People do forget.
Yeah.
So generally they kind of stand up on, I always have my musicians prepped so that when the first reading is finished, they start straight away.
Yes.
So there's no delay.
Okay, good.
So when the music starts, then you'd hope that the other person will say, oh, that's a song, I won't stand up now. But sometimes they do. And you know what? They're kind of mortified standing there. And I feel awful for them.
But you know what's funny for me? But I love it, you know. But when they haven't told them, and I'd always tell them to tell the second reader, just, hold back, sit down, don't stand up till you have to. But it could be a friend of the lads, and the lads are down the back of the church in stitches laughing
I
at
know.
him. I love that because
know.
the photographs I'm getting are absolutely
And
priceless.
the guy is there going, oh my God, ground, open it up and swallow me.
I don't know how he even does the reading then.
Oh yeah, it's just but you're it's what happens, and it's also for the offertory procession when they can't find where the gifts are. That's hilarious.
That's
sometimes
very funny. The
I know
mothers
it's terrible,
are
but
walking around going, "Where are they?
Where are they? Like, are they here?" It's funny, but like there are lots of those things happen.
Yes.
And you just kind of.
So just to back to the offertory procession, I suppose really the mothers of the bride and groom, because they're generally who bring up the offertory. Now sometimes it's an aunt or it's but whoever's bringing up the gifts, find out where they are before the mass starts.
That's hugely important. Like, and even, the bride and groom, say, going up to light candles and things like that.
Yes.
Candles can be used in the, religious ceremonies, but also in the civil ceremonies. So again, it's really important that, they know exactly where they're going, where the tapers are, and how to put the tapers out.
Yes.
Isn't that? Have you seen anything go up on fire?
Well, not go up on fire. Have you?
Well, I did. I did once have the side of an altar tablecloth kind of smoke a bit, but it was handled in a split second handled, and also lanterns on the ground on the way up.
Oh, listen,
it's kind of. I always say anything that illuminates has the potential to light up your day.
So
and sometimes,
have you seen anything happen with the lanterns?
Yeah. So I've had brides. Their train will hit off them, and you'll hear a big smash.
Oh gosh.
A lantern one day. I was standing at the top of the church, and I could smell this burning, and I was like, "This isn't good. This is not good.
Going to have to leave."
And then I thought, okay, wait a minute, don't panic, or don't be dramatic. So eventually I did my kind of walk down the aisle again. Now, in fairness, the wedding hadn't started, but I just did my very calm, casual walk down, checking the lanterns, and somebody had put a giant pillar candle into a really short lantern, and it was just burning.
Oh no.
So we had to have that removed. But candles in general, I was telling you about when I was singing underneath a giant candelabra. Like, it was giant.
Sorry, this is funny. Now I know you didn't think it was funny.
Like, there's so many things that have happened to me over the years. But it was huge. It was like, I'd say at least 7 feet tall, with these giant pillar candles. And somebody bumped off the pillar candles, and they had been lit for a few hours, to give the really good light.
Yeah.
But I had a rain of hot, scalding candle wax.
Maria.
Came down over me, into my scalp, down my arm. I mean, I had burns down my arm.
Oh, Maria, that's not funny.
Over my dress. No, this is genuine, over my dress. And the thing is that I had to, and I was telling you, I'll tell you about my finger in a minute. But so I literally had to run to the bathroom, try get as much wax out of my hair as I could. I sang, obviously, the ceremony, but then I had to do the drinks reception with a full band afterwards.
Oh,
and I'll never forget it. I was scalding.
What did you do with the clothes?
So I always bring 2 dresses.
Oh, of course you do.
Yeah, always. Because you can never count on a zip. You can never count on a zip. There will always be one time, once in a blue moon, where a zip will fail or something will happen. So I had a spare dress. So literally swapped out the dresses and went in, and I was still covered in wax. I looked like something from War of the Worlds. I was covered in wax. And then another time I was telling
Tell them about the finger. You have to tell
Oh.
them now before we finish about your finger.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
So things go wrong, and as in all entertainment, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
So I was setting up. So I was telling you, we're always there an hour beforehand. So I was there setting up the equipment, and so my 2 speakers, I was putting them together. So they're heavy and they're tall.
Heavy.
They are heavy.
Yeah.
So whatever happened, the top speaker just slipped from my hand and came down over my thumb and literally ripped out my nail.
No, I'd have been no good. I'd been gone.
And
Bye.
and
Blood
the
to you.
skin, everything was just sliced off.
Okay.
So
Jesus Christ.
I'll never forget it. The bride was about 10 minutes away. And I thought, okay. So I said nothing to the musicians, and I ran into the sacristy and found the sacristan, got the medical aid box, and I wrapped my thumb up in cotton wool and sellotape. Cotton wool and sellotape. It looked like, it looked like one of these, a giant microphone on my thumb. So, and I held it tight just to try and stop the bleeding. And yeah, so the bride arrived and I sang the full wedding.
Stop.
With my thumb hanging off.
And come here, the most important question of all. How was the voice?
It was good. Do you know what? That's the thing about it, is you can kind of separate yourself. So when things go wrong in our industry, you kind of have to just get on with it.
You do.
So after that wedding, I drove myself to A&E.
After the wedding?
After the wedding.
You went to A&E?
Yeah. So I sang first and then headed off. But I was saying to you that nobody would have known, only that I have this really annoying habit, and I'm still doing it when I talk. I emote with my hands. So when I sing, you'd often see me, doing this. So all you could see at that wedding was every time I sang, you'd see this big white bandage coming up in the air. But I sang fine, I promise you that. I sang perfectly well.
Oh my goodness, Maria, I've had so much fun talking to you. I could probably sit here for another hour and we will have to do another podcast because
but there's so many things to talk about.
There are so many things. Great. But for now, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, they can contact me on my website. So my website is www.WeddingSinger.ie.
Okay.
You can also get me on mariafitzgerald.com, which will redirect you to WeddingSinger.ie.
Yes.
And then you can get me on all of the usual social media channels. So my handle is at WeddingSinger.ie for Instagram and for Facebook. And you know what? On the website, my own telephone number is there. So if you want to ring me...
You can stalk her in the middle of the night.
No, my phone is always off. No, but if people want to ring, because like you said, people genuinely... usually don't really have much of an idea of what they want.
Yes.
So usually one conversation with me, I'll go through all of that.
Brilliant.
And you'd have a very good idea by the end of it.
Excellent. Well, Maria Fitzgerald, thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for being on my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.